Boom. Let's see. Do we have a winner? Winner.
Who's the winner?
Who is it going to be?
Who's the winner?
Who is going to be the first one today?
Here we are.
To the Price is Right.
Shining star.
Absolutely.
Come on, horses, to the race. I wonder who's in the front. I know. Oh, I saw a heart. I see hearts. Hearts count. Hearts win. Hearts. Oh,
more
Miss
hearts.
Dawn Griffin. Hello, California Dream. Anonymous. Robbie. Yay. Christina Jones. Hello. Great to see you guys. Thanks for coming.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Oh
here.
man, oh man. I hope you guys are having a great day.
Yep.
20 prosperity, 12 in the house. Heidi James. Oh, it's so good to see y'all. Okay, heads to oneness. We have some fun topics to talk about on this crazy day in a crazy world. Mary Emerson is here too. Awesome. Is it your first live, Christina? We have True Gemma in the house.
Oh, a Gemma sighting. Good to see you. I hope you're taking care of yourself, young lady. Yep.
Absolutely. Please do make sure you guys are still subscribed.
Yes.
And you know how it works with the algorithms. Thumbs up and leave a comment.
Wow. Hello there, Sweden and Massachusetts. Great to see you guys. High five, oneness. Great time to be alive indeed. Hi there, Jenny Pace. Hi.
So, right now there's a lot of different focus going on, but a lot of people are really, really focused about the earthquakes and the volcanoes. And let's take a look and see what's happening, because I haven't checked in like an hour. I check like pretty much on the hour every hour. 5.7 down there in the Caribbean, just off the coast of Dominican Republic, close to Puerto Rico. And that's 168 kilometers deep, so we might actually end up seeing something similar to that, maybe even a little bit larger. I've kind of been waiting for something around the 6s in the Caribbean. I think we're due. Here is the thing though. Look at this. We got another earthquake very close to New York City. Let's see if I turn this over. This is 30 days. Now this area here, we've seen swarming over here before. And there was swarming going on here when we had the big drone fiasco. Yeah, the drone fiasco. We don't know who it is, says the government. Oh, it was us. Yeah. Oh, cover-ups and more cover-ups. And then we had this one here, 3.0, Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, and this one, 2.7, Hillsdale, New Jersey. So straight north pretty much, just a tad to the northeast, I guess. We'll see. We'll see what else we're going to get. I don't know, man. It feels like anything and everything could be heading our way. Everybody has this feeling of something big. I mean, really big. 8.8 earthquake, that's big. I mean, it was the 6th largest that we've ever recorded. So, yeah, that was absolutely significant. Here in the Aleutians, you have a 5.1. And we still got swarming. We still have swarming going on. 15 aftershocks still rolling through. Cindy was picking up Africa in today's meditation.
Yeah.
You were getting Africa, and
Yep.
You were getting up here?
Up here in the fat part, yep. And a little bit where it says Mali there. Right around Mali.
Well, yeah, Mali's really interesting. And you have the Eye of the Sahara close to this.
Yep.
Jimmy Corsetti, Bright Insight, I think, right? Bright Insight channel. He's done a lot of videos talking about that. So yeah, we saw a big one up in Morocco. It took a lot of lives. Very, very sad situation. So Cindy is feeling a quake in this area, Mali in particular, or
It's just, but it's that area. So it's close to the eye, I guess. I didn't know the eye was there.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to crash, um, but you know what we could do is we could do a little search just to show the eye of the Sahara, because how long do these how long does it take for us to go from one mud flood to another? Yeah, that's a big question that I want to just kind of venture into in this particular. As you see here, this is what we're talking about. The Reichstadt structure, the Eye of the Sahara. Very, very interesting. Yeah, some have said this is what Plato was talking about with Atlantis. Some truly believe that, if not, the island of Atlantis, this was a part of Atlantis, but we get that Atlantis it was a global community. You could say that that's kind of the name of Earth's dominating society at that time. So yeah, Cindy's picking up somewhere over Mali, Morocco area of Africa. We need to be watching out. So huge cities hidden underground. And this one says, why are there houses underground in the U.S.? Well, there's a lot of stuff underground, not just in the U.S., but globally. And, there's so many people that are doing great jobs to point out the fact that our history, it doesn't make any sense at all. In fact, if you look closely, you'll find contradictions that haven't been explained. Even though you got debunkers debunking Mudflood, debunking Tartaria, etc., at the same time, all the evidence that keeps rolling forward that people are uncovering tend to be proving the conspiracy theories. And it just seems like it's always a matter of time when we're talking conspiracy theories before they are proven.
Oh no, it doesn't. It doesn't take long at all. There really are no conspiracy theories at the moment. I think we're pretty low there on that totem pole. But no, I mean, when you try to pick up the pieces, when you look at this history that they give us, and you pick up the pieces and you start looking at them, and you begin to wonder how in the world could these pieces even fit together with what they have given us. And it is so redonkulous. Even a first grader could start looking at the data and saying, hey, this isn't matching up. How could just this many people make this big of a city in a few years, and then they expect us to believe it. So I did get some interesting channeled information on that, which I probably should have talked about that earlier, but maybe I'll go on do something else with that channeling. But just the understanding that when this started, it wasn't started by humans, and it was something that was started by beings that know how our world rolls. They know how we go from one civilization, we rise and fall, and we rise and fall. So these beings are quite old, and they do pick particular humans to kind of do their work for them. So this is something that has been coming through for a few days now.
Yeah, and Oneness was saying, did you guys see the mermaids showing themselves after that 8.8 earthquake? I'm not sure what you're referring to, Oneness, but it is interesting that R. Wayne Steiger and some of you guys were in his chat earlier today. He had shown us and sent us photos that he took, or not that he took himself, but that were sent to him, video from the big Fukushima earthquake that happened in 2011, where you could see like these energy beings coming out of the sea, and it was pretty wild. And then Cindy was correlating that to literally the mer people that she was channeling.
Mm-hmm. Right. It was the mer people, and we did that one Patreon video where they are doing what they need to do to hold their own space and hold their own energy. And there could be, energetic hiccups from that.
Yeah, so we did do a Patreon exclusive on the mer people and the channeling. Again, there's a lot more that the control structure that's been in place, the dark cabal, etc., that they're facing. It's not just humanity's raising consciousness that potentially could be a big obstacle. It's a lot of beings that are right here on other densities or living inside the earth as well. There's a lot going on. There's lots and lots of beings involved. Did you guys know that the city of Chicago, quote unquote, defeated flooding in the 1850s by raising the city, raising a block of buildings on Lake Street? Yeah, it's history that they give us is pretty wild. And when you look to the floods that we see, they occur a lot more often than we would think. Now, I just think maybe we had a peaceful period overall here in the United States and maybe, over in Europe for maybe in general, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s overall compared to other time periods, because there's been catastrophic floods, mind-blowing floods, especially, the 1800s had a lot of them. City of Chicago, it rests on low-lying marshlands, and, flooding has been a problem for a long time. And then as Chicago boomed in the 1850s, growing into a major lake port industrial center, mud and floods became a major problem. So, again, they literally, while battling a cholera epidemic that killed 5% of the population in 1854, they came up with the situation is that they decided to lift the low-lying areas of the city up to 14 feet out of the mud to give sanitation pipes the downhill gradient they needed to function. That is something Cindy's always saying when she sees cities, Mm-hmm. What's the sanitary conditions going on?
Oh man, I am drawn to that like a moth to flame. I want to know, where is that stuff going? Because if I look and I see all these houses and all these people, that's a lot of poop going in the toilet, which probably ends up in your water. I can't help but look at that and question. Just can't help it.
Yeah, so the question seems like, if they could do that in 1850, literally raising blocks of Chicago, why do we have any problems now? I mean, shouldn't every potential flood be able to be mitigated? Shouldn't we be able to put in procedures? We got AI coming on board now that should be able to give you extremely accurate predictions.
Well, using AI in a positive way, yeah. I mean, that would be wonderful if AI would do things that are actually helping.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was a huge thing, and this was so long ago. Again, we're going back to the 1850s. Why can't we handle all the flooding problems now with today's technology? And did they really raise the city? I mean, is that true? When you look to the Great Chicago Fire, that was 1871, if I'm not misunderstanding, which, again, they blame on a cow literally kicking a lantern and setting fire.
Right.
And then yet you do have pictures and images where people had seen UFOs emitting beams of light, traditional saucer shapes, at that period of time. Was it the cow, or was it some sort of, laser beam, some sort of energy weapon from the controllers that was actually setting the fires? 1871 was the year of the Great Banking Act. 1871 was when Albert Pike gave us the predictions of 3 world wars to be carried out in the future, again, through the secret societies and all the infiltration and control of all the political system and also the banking system. And then I stumbled on this today. This came in my feed. Chattanooga unveiled. Underground Chattanooga debunks mainstream history. This is Mind Unveiled. These guys are great. They're really great. And, like John Levy will give us the 20 minutes once a week that we thoroughly enjoy and look forward to. Mind Unveiled has done 10-hour videos. 10-hour videos. This one was an hour and a half. And all about Chattanooga and the history of Chattanooga. And, he totally shows the history books are wrong. Completely wrong. He even shows buildings in place before they were built according to Wikipedia. Because there's actual maps that will show some of these buildings existing. And I think the example was in the 1870s again. And Wikipedia is, again saying, well, this was built in 1890. No, it was already there on other maps. And when you get down to one of the most fascinating things to me is the giants. And, there's so many different kinds of giants that we run into in our history books. But what you find is a lot of cities that were occupied by giants all over the world. Chattanooga, for instance, the mound builders. What we would call the indigenous people that ended up being herded onto reservations. He goes into the history of the Cherokee and the Creek people, others as well. And, again, they'll tell you that, they weren't the ones that built these mounds, that there were, in some cases, red-haired, pale-skinned, freckled giants, very, very Caucasoid, that were actually the ones that built a lot of different structures. And when you look again over to the Middle East, it's documented that there were hundreds of cities that could hold tens of thousands of people that were filled with giants, even as close to us in this time now as, again, about this same time, 1850s. It's just mind-blowing. Again, Tartaria. And, what is the truth with Tartaria? What is the truth with this whole situation? Why are there cities completely underground? And then, of course, you also have all the historical narratives. He does a great job, too, of showing how one of those old historical photos of the city being built was photoshopped. Now, this is an official photo for the historical narrative, and it's photoshopped. And he even shows how, clearly it was photoshopped. Yeah, the control system's losing control. And, again, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I know. And, I don't know, what do we do with this? So do we send our children to school armed with new facts so that if teachers start to teach the same history, the children can stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, wait a minute, that's not what I've been putting together here. I don't know what to do. It's very frustrating because the schools teach what they teach based on the mainstream. And that's all that they teach. And it's not fair because when you go digging just a little bit, I mean, even with their very own grounded out science, even with their own facts and figures, it does not match. It does not match. And they expect people to just buy whatever they're saying into the 3D just because they said it, When it just bothers me. It's like, when is that going to get fixed? Who's the one who's writing out the Wikipedia? Who's the one who's writing out our history? How do we find this guy and just tell him to stop it? To stop, guy like that.
Ultimately, my guess is it's a lot of AI. Because, again, the AI has been here the whole time. And, again, these maps that we're looking at, sometimes they are, in fact, the smoking gun. Because they'll show that things were in place a lot longer than the official historical narrative. JW in the house. Benzomatic in the house. And also, happy birthday, Susan. One day ahead. Happy birthday to you, dear Susan.
Happy birthday. Hey, Diana, Robbie. Great to see everybody. It's nice just to take a minute and say hi, Prosperity. Hi, everybody. Joe, Uncloned. Hello. Miss Claudette. Great to see you. Good to see everybody in the house. K-Heads. Good to see everybody. DJ. Mr. Mission Control, great to see you. Yes, thank you for all of our moderators.
And again, this is another Chattanooga, Tennessee, another city in which you see what they'll tell you was intentionally building a floor underground, or half of a floor, 3/4 of a floor, and also destroying beautiful buildings that it just doesn't make any sense to destroy when they're so magnificent, so much money, time, and effort obviously put into building them. Not these particular ones we're looking at here. This is an example again of the bottom floor being partially underground. But there are spectacular buildings which end up being wiped out and eliminated to put in parking lots. It just makes no sense. None at all, and it's a real sad situation that the history gets absolutely wiped away. When you even look to the whole confusing Native American point of view, there's a lot there that has been totally confused. What's really interesting too is Chattanooga, this is at the edge of the Appalachians. And there's a lot of stories of little people and interaction with little people in this area, as well as cryptids and Bigfoot. Then you have the moon-eyed people, which again, where do they live? They live inside the earth, and they have big eyes, and they only come out at night. When I was living over in the Asheville area, I encountered a lot of people that had stories of interactions, not just with Bigfoot, but with quote-unquote little people. Mm-hmm. It was really common, and it seemed like everybody had at least somebody that they knew that had encounters.
Lots of these little beings, I do think we came out of a time where the light spectrum in which we could see in was much bigger than it is now. I think we are brought down to just a sliver of a light spectrum for certain reasons that they allow it to be unknown, but there's so much more out there, and one day I do think the sun is going to do a thing, and I think we're going to see what we have been missing.
Yeah, and Joe A says Ukraine has a lot of those cities as well. They tend to stay strapped with machine guns too. Well, I think where we see the biggest war zones, that's where there is probably the most evidence that they want to obliterate, and they do obliterate it through war. The whole first Gulf War, I really think that was mostly about going in and getting rid of smoking gun evidence. Again, some people believe that they literally found the body of Gilgamesh at that time, and when you do look at what Saddam Hussein was building, he was recreating that's the time of when the Anunnaki walked with us. He really was restoring and rebuilding so much of that, and I think that was what the control system didn't really want.
No, they don't want that. They don't want anyone asking questions or any type of enlightenment. That definitely gets frowned upon.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a great video. They've done so many good videos. The Mind Unveiled, about the orphan trains. Where did the orphans come from? And then how about, why do we have these gigantic cities that are totally empty? Where did everybody go? This is just absolutely insane and crazy. And then you also have the whole fiasco with the Trail of Tears, right? You have the Trail of Tears occur, and then like 3 decades later, we have the Civil War, which the history will say, well, it was all about people's rights to free the slaves. That's why we had the Civil War. But why did you have the same government kick again, all the different Native American tribes off their land, march many of them to their death, and send them out of their homelands onto reservations. What happened to them, and their freedom. Again, they were trying to get other people to come into the, like, say, the Cherokee lands after they're marching the Cherokee on, the Trail of Tears, really a trail of death. It's so hypocritical, but it's exactly what the system's doing now. So when you look, to just say, the UK and Europe, because they've been hit with so much migration, who's causing the migration? Ultimately, it's the United Nations. It's really the UN. But it's, again, the control system, because, even when the UN didn't exist, the control system did. And they still used the migration of people as a tactic that's very useful to keep people ungrounded, unrooted, upended, to create all sorts of tensions between different people, different tribes. This is no different. This is what they did to the Cherokee and the Cree and all the other Native American nations as well.
And it wipes out their history. It wipes out their routines. It wipes out, what they do from one year to the next, because they're uprooted and they don't have any traditions to fall back on. And I find that so sad, because growing up, one of my favorite things to do with my family was, a silly little tradition. To me, it was so fun and so meaningful, and this type of behavior wipes all that out.
So it turns out Benzomatic and Elena might be neighbors. Again, it's great minds think alike. They really do. And this is part of connecting, again, to like-minded people in case of emergency. As we are going through all the chaos of another period of mudfloods. So I really think that there were major mudflood events. I think they're always ongoing, but I do think like 1800-ish, especially in the middle, there was major doings. One of my weak points in history was Russian history on the whole. And so I got some books on Russian history, and then when I'm reading the books, great books, by the way, I start to understand that, again, this whole system of nonstop, never-ending wars, constant migrations, all the strife and also outbreaks of all sorts, this has never stopped. This is every year. I did a video before saying, Matthew 24 and is it Mark 13? Wars and rumors of wars, but then shown that in the last 5,000 years, you're not going to find any time when there's no wars. It's been nonstop wars. Now, I guess there's a lot of people that would probably say it's just human nature, but I really disagree. I think that's the majority. Majority of people are peaceful. I think it's the minority that manipulate and create the conditions so they could thrive through chaos. Order out of chaos. Who has that? Where did that come from?
If you watch children play, naturally they're there to help each other. If they come from a home where they're loved and doted on and paid attention to, they like to help. They might be mindful of their toys and what's theirs, but in general, children love to help. They don't have to be taught or told. If they see a creature having a very difficult time, they're going to walk up to that creature and help them in some way, shape, or form, and do whatever they can do, even if they're only 2 or 3 years old. I've seen children do that. So to me, it is natural and it's human nature that we help each other.
Yeah, and I wanted to see, okay, there we go. This gentleman is very interesting because he's part of the negotiating team when it came to the Trail of Tears, and he was supposedly negotiating for the Cherokee. And, Cindy and I both have Native American lineage in us. And so you might not look the part, is what I guess I'm saying. He doesn't even dress the part. He doesn't. I mean, he seems really more like a European banker to me. But yeah, this was a chief. What is the real history here? Things just don't add up, and I do think that the wars, and in particular, the Civil War, I do think is a big cover-up, and it's a big time to go and do a major sweep and sweep away a lot of the history that would still kind of give away the system.
Right. I mean, picking things apart, I think the only thing we can do is continue to gather like this and, spread the information and spread the knowledge and keep asking questions.
So there was a big flood in Chattanooga, Tennessee, 1867. Huge flood. So there was an area again that the citizens raised, just like Chicago, but they also just simply built right on top. And then, there are many, again, buildings that are partially underground. And there's some that you could go and look into. I don't think they want you to, though, anymore. I did see a news channel that was showing underground. The river there had risen 53 feet. Think of that. 4 days of heavy rainfall. The river rose 53 feet. 15.5 feet higher than a flood 20 years earlier. The rain lasted for 4 days. It was just incredible. Again, the devastation. So why, why are we not aware of this as a society? It has to be people that are inquisitive by nature that are going to get this. I do think, again, that historical narrative wants to propagate certain ideas, and there's certain topics that are a little too touchy. So, again, that's 1867. Oh, and Paulo.
Thank you, Paulo. We appreciate that. Make sure you stay to the end, and we'll do some dings. Thank you.
Yeah, it just gets me thinking about all the rest of this history. Now, there's not a lot of newspaper clippings about this one particular flood, but there were catastrophic floods. Jared Boosters did one we watched a few months back. It was in Pennsylvania, a catastrophic flood that wiped away a whole town. And, it was interesting because, gosh, I don't know how to say this, but, a certain group, Masonic group, they had moved their temple before the flood happened. They moved the location to what ended up being higher ground and not being affected. Right before this flood came, you got to wonder.
It's a miracle.
Do they have a direct line to God?
It's like Nancy Pelosi's ability to spot money, right?
Yes, exactly. So then we go over here, right? And how about Seattle? Are you guys aware of Seattle? The Seattle Underground. I know we've done a video or two on this. It's just another one of those places. Now, Chattanooga, Tennessee, towards the middle of the country, a little bit on the eastern side. Now here's Seattle. You're up in the northwest, and there's just an obvious, massive Seattle Underground there. Again, they do have guided tours here. It's a network of underground passageways and basements in the Pioneer Square neighborhood of Seattle. They were located at ground level when the city was built. When? Oh, in the mid-19th century, like 1850s, etc. again. But fell into disuse after the streets were elevated. So they had to elevate the streets. Now, this goes back over to 1889. You had an overturned glue pot in a carpentry shop accidentally start the most destructive fire in the history of Seattle, the Great Seattle Fire. And, what they did was they regraded everything 1 to 2 stories higher after the fire. Remember we were talking about Chicago, and was it Mrs. O'Leary's cow 1871, and a massive fire, and then coincidentally razing Chicago. This narrative seems to repeat itself place after place after place.
Yes, Susan Donahue. No cows to blame, huh? How's that? Hi, Blue Sky. Hi, Rasta Bear. Hi, who's Puzza? Wolf Raven. Good to see you. Good to see you guys show up. Thanks for joining.
Doctors in the house. Good to see you as well. Yeah, so many resets. Absolutely,
many resets.
Jordan. How often? That's one of the things. How often do we run into these bigger resets? I would venture to guess that it's an ongoing thing, but where before I started to become convinced it was maybe about every 300 years, it might be more like every 150 years. I think again, I think they just rotate, from one area to another, as partly as the migrations happen too. So when you look to it, North America. We're given this vision that North America was empty when the Europeans came. No, in fact, I have seen very recent data that has said that as many people that are in Europe at that time frame, like going back to around 1500, 1490, etc., it was about the same as Europe to North America. So proportionately, people were living a lot different here, much more in tune with nature than over in Europe, because Europe, again, has been kind of the heart of the system, the belly of the beast, so to speak. And I think, again, we have the American Empire, which really transplanted the British, but it's really the same. In fact, there's even documentation that could show you that we're under British maritime law to this day. And in effect, the monarchy is not as symbolic as they would let on. But many people are even coming to the conclusion, why do we even have a monarchy in this day and age? Why do they get public funding for everything, and they're so rich and own so much land? Again, 90% of Canada, New Zealand, and Australia is all crown land, technically owned by again the royal family. What's wrong with this picture? Again, this is something that needs to be rectified. Good to see you, Rizar.
I know, and round robin, I got that a long time ago, Robbie. The words round robin, it is to them. It's just one big game. That's
one of their code names. That's actually, that's what Cindy's picked up. It is an actual code name that they've used for keeping people on the move. Round robin.
Yeah, so keeping people on the move. It's what they do, and then they lie about our history, and I think it really is up to us to keep supporting each other and picking it apart and asking questions.
So there's so much real history underneath our feet, and again, we were just looking at Chicago, and then Chattanooga. This is again Seattle. And you have the underground, and you can go visit and take tours in Seattle. Very cool, and I do hope that we get there. Maybe not in the far too distant future. I really want to take a Pacific Northwest trip. I really do. I'm not sure if we're going to make it before all the volcanic activity happens, though.
I know.
Which again, I'm getting the impression, guys. I got the strongest impression. That was about a week ago when I went out to mow the lawn. It felt like cool, crisp air hitting me, and it felt like that was really from the guides. Yes, Rasta, we would definitely stop in Portland too.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sure. Portland and Seattle. We'd probably have to hit Shasta again on that trip too. But I think that we're going to have a cold winter. That's my feeling, and that it might be surprising. If we do get volcanic activity here in the U.S., if we do have, Rainier or Hood or, maybe Shasta, go, or if we have a lot more activity even over in Alaska and over in Kamchatka, you get enough of that going, you are going to have cooler weather settling in. And that's more dangerous for crops and growing.
Thank you so much, Susan Donahue. Thank you so much, my dear. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. We appreciate you. And Susan's been with us every step of the way. Gosh, yeah, from forever. Then here we're looking at the catacombs of Paris.
Thanks, you guys. Thank you, Miss Diana. Thank you so much. You guys make sure you hang out at the end. We're going to have some fun.
Thank you, Diana and James. Thank you, guys. You know, gosh, yeah, so many beautiful people all over. And, you know, I've met so many amazing people in Asheville. And then we have so much family over on the West Coast, too. You know, we are all starseed light workers. Everybody that's listened to this, you're a starseed light worker, and you've been placed in the area that you are in to hold your frequency through whatever comes. But do listen if you do get the call. If you do feel from the higher self that it's time to go for some reason, then definitely pay attention. Write down your dreams. Have a dream journal. This is so key. You know, I hadn't realized that I literally did see in a dream the 9/11 situation happen a full year to the exact day before it happened, and I had no clue, but I wrote it down, and then I noticed it about 6 years later when I was going through old dream journals. And so, you know, I think that's one of the best ways to get in touch with your guides and to see what they're giving you. But when you look, too, to the historical narrative, and, you know, you get into the Mudflood, you see this first Mudflood period 1600, 1750. There are a lot of works of art out there that tell us more than the official narrative. And, yeah, this is always ongoing. It really just depends on where we are looking at what time. It really blows my mind when I think about, and I might have mentioned this last time we were talking, but I'll look it up and get the actual reference for you guys. But Joseph Smith, you know, the founder of the Mormon Church, he was visited by the angel Moroni, again, according to the story. But who are these angels, really? You know, they look awful Pleiadian when you get down to it. And then we have what we call the fallen Pleiadians. This is a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. But yeah, I do think there are what we would call fallen Pleiadians. They look like angels. You know, they're typical, what you would think of as an angelic being. And yet, what are they? You know, again, extraterrestrials that are working with the system. You have so many different species of extraterrestrials, you know, ultra-terrestrials, because, again, you know, we're talking about multiple dimensions and many different beings that can actually navigate between certain dimensions, like many of the Greys can, and as well as some of these fallen Pleiadians. Again, he had a vision, and he was told, this is Joseph Smith, founder of the Mormon Church, to uproot his people and to head west because of persecution. And so, you know, leaving again New York and then heading west, he was told to go to an exact spot in Utah where you will find a city, empty city, there for you to populate. I think that is one of the most telltale statements of exactly what's going on. An empty city that is there for you to populate. When you look to, again, you know, the Old Testament, and, you know, leading people out there in the desert for 40 years. Of course, Moses was doing that, but he never got to the promised land. That was Joshua. And then when they got to the promised land, there were people there. So that led to war, and that led to all sorts of catastrophes. But it also was a case where one group of people were pushed out, another group of people came and moved straight in to the very houses that were already there. And this is also echoed over in Syria and Lebanon, northern Israel, Jordan. And that area is spoken of as having cities, many cities, dozens of cities that were entirely populated by giants. And then the cities were left intact. The structures were not ruined, but the giants were all gone. Almost sounds like some sort of biological warfare, if you're asking me. Karma Doc in the house.
Hey, cool, awesome, Miss Karma Doc. Good to see you here. And Claudette, yeah, keep an eye on those visions. You know, I've had some really interesting ones on my awakening, and I'll never forget them. They were so extremely real, and I can't quite get over that, how much it was just being in another world. It's okay. Oh my gosh, you get what is it? You get like a no fault pass forever and ever.
Yeah, Misnomer's talking about Jinn. Yeah, we have seen one. We got it on video too, and we shared that with you guys multiple times. Yeah, I do think that these other dimensional entities like Jinn are very real. We know they're real, and they can harm beings in 4D. 3D, I should say, because even though they're lower 4D, they actually can. So what we have here is a lot of history and beautiful artwork, again, showing there were, I really think in the past, we've had much larger populations than we do now. I think that our portion of Earth was more populated than it is right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think it is too, that we've had so many more people here. And I mean, even the ground that I'm standing on right now, I have this eerie feeling that if you dug down deep enough, you're going to find the roof of another house. Yikes. You.
Well, thank you, Chris. It says, I've listened to you for almost 10 years now, and my most trusted source, channeling intuitive wisdom. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the one thing with us is our only agenda is to tell you exactly what we know, and that's truly the truth, because we understand that humanity, unfortunately, has been taken advantage of. This is just fascinating, and so many videos are gone. But yes, let's suffice it to say, Paris, the City of Lights, is also known as the City of the Dead because of the underground that's below it. Literally, right below the feet. We are built on top of our ancestors. But there's like another whole side to this. And I think before we move off topic, I just wanted to bring up too, don't forget Sacramento, for instance. Sacramento was another place. The Great Flood. What year was that? That was like 1861, wasn't it? If I remember right. 1861 and 2. Yeah. The Great Flood. This is again in that time frame. So, Chicago, 1850s, Chattanooga. Again, the same time frame. And this, 1862, we had the Civil War going. This is what I mean. The wars hide other things that are going on at the same time. They do. This is a big purpose, to having these wars, is to hide what's going on. Think about it. And think what's coming now, guys, because, the system seems totally set on starting World War III. Because the war will hide the activities of the system. This is what they do.
No, people can't remember. They go through the trauma and they forget.
Yep. Oh, wow. JW has been there, again, the catacombs. Yeah, this is just so wild. So, Sacramento, right? Sacramento and the Great Flood, again, it was just insane. And literally, Sacramento is another city, that's built on top of the previous one. And, this is, again, a historical photo. In that same time period, another massive flood, and literally filled the entire California Valley. We found shells in Nevada We found sponges that were fossilized, a giant tooth, and shells like clam shells in Nevada, on the Nevada-California border, in Amargosa. And, I don't think that they were thousands of years old. Maybe a couple hundred, maybe. This is part of a recurring theme here, is what we have ongoing. And this leads me to expanding Earth theory. Because part of this, the natural part, is that the Earth is growing and expanding. So,
Or to talk about stuff like that. Oh, good. Reconnection successful. Awesome.
Yeah.
The Lionsgate portal opening. Yes, that's going to be a big one. I'm feeling something interesting there.
We will do a live for Lionsgate, and we'll use everybody's intention to create positive outcomes. So, again, this whole theory is that when you look to the continents, they obviously fit together. And so the Earth is growing and expanding, and that's pushing the continents farther apart. And thus, we'll have ever-increasing, expanding ocean area. But we'll also have a new land area, too. And, this is something that, I think it hits a lot of people as just being accurate. But, again, they will try to argue against it and say, no, this isn't the case, because they can't have you understanding what's really happening. And so, yes, the Earth is expanding. Then they also give us these huge, everything's happening, but taking hundreds of millions of years or billions of years. Yes, Cindy will do a roar.
On the Lionsgate portal.
Okay.
So I have to make sure it's the carrot to get people to come.
Yeah, Rizar was asking about the comet. Again, what we see is a ship. There's multiple ships coming, guys. There's multiple ships coming, but there's always ships coming and going. And when we think about these great comets, like the great comet of this year, followed by that natural disaster, another great comet another year, followed by another natural disaster, it's just aliens coming by on ships. Again, it's just really watching planet Earth. Now, some of them have direct contact with the control system. It's no big miracle that a comet will show up at a particular time. It's not an act of God. It's just simply telling somebody to bring the ship nearby.
And I do believe that these things are big enough to have some type of effect on the human psyche, for sure. Will it interact with us? I think it's going to scan us at least. It's at least going to scan us and take a look. I don't know if it'll interact.
We had gotten before with... we had gotten from the guides before that when they scanned Humanities' frequency level the last time, we were higher than was expected, which was a good thing. And then a lot was depending on our frequency level as far as the treaty that ended up being null and void, expiring in June, summer solstice this year. A lot of that had to do with where is our frequency, because the argument is, are the kids old enough, wise enough, and able enough to know what's really going on?
I know.
That's the real argument there.
Yeah.
When do we tell the kids that they're not alone?
I know. How old? How old? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's really what we're looking at there. So we have the expanding Earth theory, and I do think it is actually what is going on. Now this is the Terra Infinita map, 178 worlds under the Great Dome. So if you have ever seen this or haven't seen this, again, it's a map talking about other realities besides ours in the nearby vicinity of ours. Now, of course, they're visualizing this as a great dome. And we've said that we do agree with the flat earthers on some things, even though we don't see the Earth as really flat. I think a lot of the measurements that they use to prove that it's flat is really proving that the Earth is much, much larger than what we're told. Also, we are in a concave portion of Earth. Again, the guides have given us that the Earth is kind of pear-shaped. You know, think of a roundish pear with a little bump in the area that would attach to the branch. I forget what type of pear, like maybe like a D'Anjou, or I think that would be one of the ones that might be more similar. It's not perfectly round because Tiamat was destroyed by the Galactic War, and we are on Earth here have been recreated from the biggest remnant of Tiamat, which is on its way to being round, but it's not round yet. Because, relatively speaking, that wasn't too long ago. That was just 3 Yuga cycles ago. So we've gone through 3 full cycles of the Yuga, ascending and descending. And that's where we are at this point in time. So when you look at something like this, what we're really talking of is envision our planet's biosphere as a cell. There are other cells near us. This is again the as above, so below. So these are some of the more local cells or interpretations of that. So again, you'll have a lot of stuff that comes out, like, you know, flat Earth map. This is a German flat Earth map, and the question is, you know, is it a reflection on the moon of us? So, you know, some have said that what you're looking at here is literally our section of Earth, but there's more that we don't see. That's a reflection, because the moon is what we get to is that the moon is actually 4D. It's a 4D structure. It is a natural satellite, but not a natural satellite of Earth. It is basically a base. It is an ET base, and when we look at the majority of the ET control system, they're lower fourth density. So, you know, it is literally a projector, or some have theorized it's a mirror, so to speak, of Earth. And so it shows you the true layout of the continents. I did, when I was in Asheville, see the moon go totally blank, like no craters, no nothing. It went totally blank, like a blank screen for a few seconds, and then it went back on. And somebody else was with me and saw the exact same thing, and we both were absolutely flabbergasted. But that was really, I think, it was a message, you know, just to show us the reality of, you know, the fact that the moon is not what it appears to be.
No, it's not. It's something that's not even quite 3D fully. It's a pretty interesting thing there.
No, it's not 3D. You've gotten that it is literally 4D. It is a base. It is a base of operations, and there are beings in there. This is where the Watchers watch from. Do you remember the Watchers? You know, your biblical Watchers. You know, again, this is one of the main points where they watch humanity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, again, there's many other lands out there, and many people talk about the ice ring. I think, again, I think the weather is generated for a reason, and I do think it is generated. I think there's a lot more technology in play with our thermostat, you know, on a global level, because, you know, again, we're talking about beings that are way far ahead of what we have been shown technologically on planet Earth. So yeah, we have gotten from the guides that there's a lot more land that is not the land that we know on planet Earth than is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, so this is something else. And then the other part of it is concave Earth. You know, we'll delve into these things into greater depth in other videos. But other people have noticed things which make them think that the Earth is concave, which we've gotten verification from the guides that there's truth in that too. You could see all these old maps And again, I think you need to go farther back. This is 1627. You go farther back in time, you're going to get, in some ways, a lot more truth that hasn't been able to been hidden. So you see a lot of these maps, and they give the impression that we are in a concave situation. Well, this is, again, the Death Star, and then you had Star Killer Base. And this visualization came to me. It's just like our portion of planet Earth is as if all our known continents were inside this area right here. Like, this part from which the beam gets emitted. It's concave. This is our entire known planet Earth fitting in here. And then the exterior is the rest, which we don't see. So yes, we are in a concave portion of the Earth. The guides gave us that recently, maybe a month or two ago. Mm-hmm. They brought that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something that's it's a bit difficult.
Yeah, it's not easy to conceptualize, but I think it'll all be revealed, in time, and very good chance within most of our lifetimes. I am hopeful. So then you have Star Killer Base next to it with its little Borg cyborg eye. Makes me think of the Battlestar Galactica robots that would have that beeping red eye. And then, again, we're out to exterminate humans because, it was literally a case where galactically humans were being chased from one planet to another because literally artificial intelligence and the robots were literally trying to get rid of us. It kind of is the way it is. And in the newer series of Star Wars, you see this moment when out of that red eye, plasma, again, directed energy weapon, absolutely, literally destroys a whole bunch of planets. And when I saw this hit me. This has happened. This has really happened in our real reality. Again, this is plasma discharge. So when the Thunderbolts Project is talking about the Grand Canyon being formed by plasma discharge, we agree. It's more like this is the situation, because the control system, like when you see those melted cities and melted rock, it's this type of plasma discharge that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's not nice. It's not nice.
No, it absolutely isn't. So, yes, that is definitely something that's more sobering. So, again, they're telling us everything in the movies. Between The Matrix, between Star Wars, going back to the orcs and Middle-earth and Bilbo Baggins, and, it's all right there, out there in front of us. Including, unfortunately, the black goo and of the Alien series, etc. That's the situation on planet Earth with humanity's consciousness arising. And the key to escaping this cycle of staying under the clutches is really simple. It's love and compassion. Raise your frequencies, and that bifurcation, the splitting of timelines, the literal splitting of reality, I think is coming. And we will find ourselves in a 5D, a higher version of Earth, and manifesting truly a Garden of Eden situation on the planet.
We just need to help each other.
And Ray made it in time for dings.
Good. Here we go. You know what to do. Happy thoughts, you guys. Happy thoughts. Here we go. And thank you so much, everyone. Paulo, Diana, Susan, everyone else, for your thumbs up, for your coming, for support, all the things. Thank you. Okay, you guys, thank you so, so much. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste, guys. Thank you so